Today, we're going to be talking about how do you declutter your brain so that you can be more productive in life and at work. We've got a specialist here, Kitty Andrews. Kitty, how are
Hello.
you today?
Fantastic. Hello, hello.
Well, I know some of the issues that we have are people who are dear to us, who had information or ideas or things that were important to them, and we want to honor them by hanging on to their stuff. And I know that from my own parents who are both living, that which is great. But the things that they had in their life, I don't want their physical stuff. But what was most important to my dad was his ideas. And he was a really wise person who people came from all over and they would ask for his advice and they would ask for his counsel and his guidance. And that was really important to me because I watched my dad helping other people as a consultant and as a mentor and as a therapist and all these things to other people as I was growing up. And I said, wow, he's really smart. I really like his ideas. But then when I go to my dad and I say, hey, you're still alive. What are you going to do with all your ideas? He says, I've got libraries of stuff that I
Mm.
don't have time to go through libraries. And I certainly don't want to inherit libraries of stuff. What would be really important to me right now is can I interview you once a week and we have a YouTube show together where I can ask you questions and you give me answers. We can document that for me, for all of my siblings and all of their kids. So the kids and the great grandkids now can have that information
Mm.
and he's cognitive and he's sharp as a whip. And he said, yeah, let's do it. My entire life, he's always been like, no, I don't want to go on camera or anything. And for the first time ever, I'm like, this is really important. If you value your ideas as much as I do, let's document it, but let's do it on camera. Let me ask you the questions, you give me the answers. And he just did come out with a couple of books that were on Amazon, but it was a consolidation of all of his ideas. I don't have time for a whole entire library, but
Mm.
condense it down and give me the bullet points. Then let's unpack it and have these conversations. And so
Right.
for the first time ever, we're meeting now on a Saturday. It gives me quality time with my dad, right? When he's not going to take a call from me during the week because he's out with his garden and his plants. But suddenly he showed up every week and he's like totally prepared. And every Saturday morning we have our Live with Impact show. I'm like, yes, this is awesome. I get to hang out with my dad. But I'm
Mm.
changing the conversation because I don't have the energy now or ever to go through his whole entire library of stuff. I love his brain, but no, I do not want all of his books.
Well, your father is, if I hear you right, is he's giving you his best.
I think that's important because stuff that we hung on to from 20, 30, 40 years ago has been revised as we grew, as we matured, as we became smarter and wiser people. We have better information. So a piece of advice today is going to have a more profound effect because it has more life behind it. It has more experience behind it. And I'm in a different place in my life where the information is different and it's more meaningful now that it has more impact behind it.
Yeah, absolutely. And how wonderful. I'm sure you must feel so blessed to be able to spend this quality time. And he feels blessed too, for exactly the same reason. And he feels respected, like somebody cares about what he's done. Because how many times do we feel in our lives that is anybody even noticing? Like Brendan Burchard says, did I live? Did I love? Did I matter? At the end of our lives, can we look back and say, yes, I made an impact? If you had a positive impact on those close to you, wow. Does it get any better than that?
Thank you for your kind words. But I think one of the things that we're doing right here on this show is helping us have a different conversation with ourselves. Because one of the things that I noticed for me, and I think it's true for a lot of the folks that keep joining us week after week, is our relationships, not only with stuff are changing, but our relationships with ourselves. And I think that's really key and really important because many of us live in homes, and this is a era of the smartphone where
Hmm.
people are like glued to their smartphone. They're in the same room as you, but they're paying attention to their phone and they're like, "Yeah, I hear what you're saying." They're not paying attention at all. And people are telling me on a daily basis, I feel like my family looks through me. They don't see me. They don't hear me. They're not participating in my life. We're all in the same room and we're all eating the same stuff, but we're not eating together. And they're
That's right.
saying things like that. And as I hear that, I'm like, wait a second, what are we doing that we could be doing differently? Because if we're hanging on to people's stuff because it meant something to us, but yet while they're alive and while they're in our space, we're not actually with them, why on earth are we hanging on to all their stuff? Are we
Mhm.
trying to buy back a relationship that we could be having right now? And these are the tough conversations. These are the things that we're starting to do right now. And so we're starting to put our phones away while we're eating dinner and having a conversation with each other and to be making eye contact and to be actually tasting the food that we're eating and consciously and mindfully being present in the moment. And this is stupid, but as a married person of 21 years, every morning I walk my husband out to the car and I give him a little kiss and a hug and, hey, have a great day. And off he goes. And I said to myself the other day, that's really awful. My kiss with my husband is like a little bird peck. Like, here's a bird peck. Goodbye. And then I was like, that's meaningful, but that's not really meaningful. So I said, I'm going to start demanding more of myself. So then I started giving him 10 bird pecks. Okay, 10 little kisses as he leaves. And then he started laughing. He's like, what are you doing? Why are we still kissing? I said, that's a great question. Why are we still kissing? I said, but look, you've got a big smile on your face. So now he's like, are you counting? And I said, yes, I'm counting. And I'm going to make this count. And then all of a sudden it became like this game between us. And the hugs started lasting longer. It's like, wait a second. I don't want to hang on to your stuff, but I want to hang on to you. You matter. I want to hang on to you. I don't want your stuff. I want you. But if that's the message that we're sending, how are we sending that message and how are we delivering it? And I have to ask the question because every day, every single day, people come to me and they go, I have all this stuff that I can't let go of. My question back to you is, can you let go of the stuff, but hang on to the person or the people in your life right now? Do they really matter to you? And are you making them matter? And are you making those moments together matter? Because if you're not, it doesn't matter what stuff you hang on to, it will never fill that void.
True. And many times we learn that too late. That's the sad part. And we don't remember to nurture those relationships while the person is still alive. And you never know. Every day that you make it through the day is a good day because life happens and you just never know. So it is important to appreciate people. However, my father and I, for example, had a troubled relationship towards the end. And as an only daughter, I was left with all of his stuff. What do you do with it? And I couldn't deal with it for the longest time because there was still a little bit of anger, resentment, a whole bunch of negative feeling. But then I changed a little bit and I started to approach it. I remember that I don't want it in my house. I'm thinking of a specific object right at the moment that I'm going to be giving to somebody. And this somebody helped me go through a fair bit of my dad's stuff. And I could remember things or moments about my father. All right, this person was very supportive. And I don't want to leave our conversation without saying, please don't try to declutter yourself. Try to have a friend or family member or outside support because it's crucial. I wouldn't have gotten as far as I did. I'm a decluttering coach and I needed a decluttering coach. But my point is, if you can have someone there as a support, a sounding board, and then it's much easier to let it go.
I appreciate you saying it because I think it's more common than people would like to admit that there are family struggles. As much as I love to think that I get along with everybody, I actually have a couple of enemies who happen to be relatives as well. And they're not enemies on my part, but I found myself holding and harboring hard feelings towards them because of the way they treat me. And I remember going to a therapist and I told my mother about it. She's like, you went to a therapist? And I said, yeah, absolutely. There's nothing wrong. I said, you take your car to a mechanic to get your car fixed if it needs something that you can't fix yourself. And I said, a therapist does the same thing. So yeah, I went to a therapist and you know what the therapist told me? Oh, it made me so mad. They said, you need to write an apology letter to this person that you don't get along with. And I was like, over my dead body, am I going to do that? They're the one that they mistreated me. I didn't mistreat them. And they said, but they feel that you overstepped a boundary. And whether you did or not is completely irrelevant. Those are their feelings and those feelings matter to them. And the reason you're coming to me is because you want to resolve this. And right now there needs to be an adult in the room that will take responsibility. And right now there's no adult in the room. There are two kids fighting at each other. So I need you to write the letter and apologize for overstepping the boundaries. And then whether they accept your apology or not is completely irrelevant, but you will have let it go. And I was like, oh, and they said, so by the time I see you again, I need this letter to be written and sent. And so I wrote the letter. And then I sat on that letter for a week. I was like, I'm not sending that letter. You can't make me send that letter. They're the ones that did this to me. And I was just in my head thinking through these things, right? And then I decided to send the letter and it was radio silence on the other end. I never got a forgiveness. I never got an acknowledgement of it or whatever to tell you how much of a burden that lifted off of me to write a letter. And the demands were very clear. Do not include the person, other people or your family. Don't put other people in the line of fire. Don't bring up the past. Just only apologize. Okay. Only apologize for the current moment Don't dig up any of the past. Don't dig up any hard feelings. Don't poke a beehive. Don't any of those things. Just apology and then move on. And by doing that, oh my goodness, it was like I just ripped off this huge mask. Whether they accept it or not is irrelevant. But I have moved on and now I'm free to move on with the rest of my life. And all those hard feelings went away. And I didn't realize that I
Yeah.
was the one that was feeling the anger and the hurt and the betrayal when in fact it's still there. But the reality is I don't have to live with it now for the rest of my life. I'm free to let that go.
Yeah.
And along with that, anything that was physical that I was hanging on to, hoping that relationship was going to mend itself, I've been able to let go of those things because I've let go of that, whatever it was I hoped would be different.
Talk about mental decluttering your relationships and the relief that you felt or that you seem to be feeling having done that. Am
Well,
I
who
reading
knows?
that right?
I might actually be growing up a little bit. What do you think?
We're never too old to grow up.
But I think I'm at a stage of my life right now. If I'm going to be a mature person, I think I should probably grow up. You know what I mean? And when the therapist said there needs to be an adult in the room, I was like, guilty as charged. And it's just an interesting game when you decide to accept responsibility and you say, yeah, we did have a broken relationship. And my part of it, I hurt your feelings and I'm sorry.
And there's a fair bit of wool with what I do in releasing negative energies or clutter holding energy or energy of things past. And when you do something like what you've done, I believe that you're opening the door for the universe to send you new stuff, whether it's physical or mental decluttering.
Thank you so much for joining us today. And thank you, Kitty Andrews. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Angel.
All right. You guys have a great day.